The stem cell debate and the cloning debate, of course, involving embryos, human embryos, is something that is at the heart of what I do as a professor of moral theology and someone who's working in the field of law and ethics. I have a background in law and in theology, particularly a doctorate in moral theology from the Accademia Alfonsiana in Rome. We shouldn't be creating embryonic humans and destroying them for the purposes of some sort of therapy or other purpose, no matter how noble. So what have scientists been saying in modern times with respect to the beginning of life? Well, once you have a complete genome, all the chromosomes of the human person, scientists, geneticists, others have agreed that this is an individual human being. Now, if for political reasons or reasons for promoting a particular agenda or something, someone is going to come along and arbitrarily set another time, then we have to have good, realistic reasons from a scientific point of view to say, no, this is not living human organism. This is something else entirely. But other than that, it would simply be arbitrary. And our position in the church with respect to the beginning of life has been and continues to be consistent with what we know about human origin from a biological point of view. This is not a disorganized group of cells that has no purpose in itself. These things are living, they're organized, and they will every one of the embryos that has a normal genome and other conditions of being right will develop along the same path. All of us are living for a time, and all of us come to the end of our life. For many of us, that's a very long life, relatively speaking, and for a lot of us, that can be very short. The fact that life is going to end for any of us within a few minutes doesn't make us any less human right now. When we talk about a human embryo, a zygote, the plans are already there, and it's building itself on its own power. We don't need any builders to come in. Now, on the other hand, as with all human beings at different stages in their life, we do need certain kinds of support for that life to continue. We may be bedridden, and we need some people to assist us. When we are in our earliest stages of life, we need the support of our mother's womb in order to survive. But those things don't make us any less human. And there is no process or let us say, progression in humanness, let us say. Because by nature, from the beginning, we are human. This idea of something else being present until implantation, this is a recent innovation. So yes, we are seeing science becoming more and more political in that sense and moving away from their objective approach to these biological facts. But the facts are the same. The judgments about them are what's changing in science, and they're changing for political reasons. We can never deliberately destroy a human person in order to bring about a cure for somebody else. We have always believed in the sanctity of the human embryo, and once we were able to once scientists were able to produce embryos in the laboratory, the problem was already recognized by the church as a serious assault on human dignity and human life. So based upon our notion of the sanctity of human life and the science which establishes clearly that that life principle is there from the moment of conception or inception in the case of cloning, then our position is that we have to assume, we have to conclude that that life is sacred, a human life, from that moment. Before the stage that we're at now, when people were talking about somatic cell nuclear transfer, they were using terms like cloning, particularly therapeutic and reproductive or human cloning, and making a distinction between therapeutic cloning and reproductive cloning. When everybody thinks of cloning, of course, they think of producing a baby or a person that's an exact genetic duplicate of someone else. In the current debate, this is what people refer to as reproductive or human cloning. In terms of doing scientific research, the people who are promoting this want to do cloning, but they don't want to make it sound like they are going to allow the clones to be brought to term as babies and to grow from that point. So the term that is used to describe that kind of cloning is therapeutic cloning. Of course, currently they've abandoned use of the term cloning at all in favor of somatic cell nuclear transfer, because as many have said, cloning, just the word cloning, has its own yuck factor. So we use somatic cell nuclear transfer to refer more particularly now to therapeutic cloning. But the intent of therapeutic cloning is to clone, or the intent of somatic cell nuclear transfer is to clone, but not to transplant the embryos into a womb. So the intent there is from the beginning to create human embryos and then destroy them in order to produce stem cell lines. The question is how we define life. And some people, certainly in recent times, beginning particularly with the ethicist Joseph Fletcher, have tried to define life in terms of some characteristic or activity of a human being. Can you relate? Are you conscious? Are you able to do one thing or another? So that, of course, puts the definition on the basis of some activity, on some, let us say, realized capacity. Our view of human life and the notion of human life is based upon more fundamentally or radically, coming from the Latin word for root, on the basic and fundamental nature of the thing, and that's the way we would describe it, on the basis of nature, not on what something does, but on the basis of what it is. And therefore, when we see an embryo, we don't see a potential life, we see a life with potential. Many people have lost a sense of the dignity of the human being. So, of course, we are making laws now that reflect that sort of value or lack of values in that regard. Where will this go? What we would like to see is that the very promising benefits of adult stem cell research would be promoted, and and when I say promising, we know that these discoveries with adult stem cell research, the successes have been ongoing. They keep coming. We have many clinical trials in place right now in this country, in private sectors that are working on adult stem cell. Some companies now have even claimed that they can produce very easily or isolate very easily embryonic-like stem cells in adult bodies that can be very easily collected for the use in therapies. We'd like to see as many people as possible benefit from the cures that have already been obtained through that kind of research. And we would like to see across the board, as we always have, the protection and the promotion of human dignity from the moment that it begins to the moment that it ends naturally.